Good day, everyone. Let us introduce to you the Leading in Business group. 8 promising businessmen, Carlos, Edward, Diogo, Claudia, and Casper, myself, Mikhail, and Orbakchan, are here to motivate you to do responsible business. Let's have a look at our poster. In 2000, the world's consumers spent around $1 trillion of American dollars on clothing. According to statistics from the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, around 26.5 million people work within the clothing and textile sector worldwide, and these people work for us to provide us the clothes that we want to wear. However, we are all responsible and we need to respond to the present needs in clothing so that we're not compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. The clothing and textile sector business should be sustainable, and we as consumers should help to achieve sustainability. Being consumers, we are the stakeholders and we have the power. As you can see from the poster, our group decided to focus our clothing life cycle management on the final part of the life cycle, namely disposal. We believe that the final part of the clothes life cycle is vital. Taking back clothing from customers for recycling would minimize any flow into the external environment. We have structured our group presentation as follows. Initially, we'll look at our wardrobes, how many items there and what we use of them, as you can see from the poster here. And then we analyze the impact of waste to our environment and people. We also mentioned about the opportunities for businesses, which arises from being involved in recycling. And finally, we come about the key message of the poster. So, let us begin with the presentation.
Hello, my name is Casper, and following up from what my colleague Bert has said, let's now have a look at our wardrobes and think how many clothes from our wardrobes we are wearing on a regular basis and how many of them are not being worn for a very long time for a different variety of reasons. In the end, we come to a realization that we only utilize around 20% of our wardrobe constantly wearing the same clothes seasonally, and 80% of clothes in our wardrobes are not being worn for a very long time. In the end, nationally, we contribute to $46.7 billion worth of clothing being left unworn in our wardrobes, and at some point, most of it will be thrown away. This should make us consider our shopping habits, as we are buying more than we need and wear, with very little recycling being made to balance this problem out. This is where the focus and inspiration for our post has came from. Out of the Sustainable Development Goals that we have been looking at, we are mainly focusing on responsible consumption and production within the clothing industry, and recycling / reusing what we already have. In order to avoid overwhelming our planet by extracting raw materials to produce new unnecessary pieces of clothing. The core of this problem could be the fact that in everyday life we observe and follow upcoming trends, famous people and men and women on the street. This then leads to overbuying and impulsive habits of shopping for items we don't wear for a very long time. This pressure and habit should be eliminated in order to become more sustainable as individuals and form a sustainable society that we've all been learning and revising during this module. I will now pass you on to my other colleague that will do section 3 of this presentation.
The key messages of our poster to the audience are to address what is happening behind the scene of buying an extra t-shirt in a supermarket and stop buying clothes in order to save lives. We demonstrated true and indeed tragic evidence related to the production of cotton, raw material used to make the displayed t-shirt, and I will state some of it in the following segment. I am going to be using examples related to the social and environmental pillars of sustainability. The first important problem that I have found is the use of pesticides during cotton production that leads to health problems for workers, such as cardionetic and neurological effects. Pesticides are also causing allergies and affecting fertility. Chemicals have polluted groundwater and creating a long-lasting negative impact on the environment. Cotton has been called the thirsty crop by Garretti and Torres in 2013 due to the amount of irrigation that needs to be done to it. Freshwater reservoirs are diminished because of cotton crop irrigation. One example is the depression of the Aral Sea due to the Soviet irrigation project. Environmental abuse combines with ethical issues. Human rights are violated in cotton industry with low wages and excessive working time in thousands of cotton factories in developing countries. Child labor has been reported in the major cotton production country, Uzbekistan, said by Amber in 2010. However, according to the new International Labour Organization, the child labor is no longer a concern in the cotton industry, and the wages have also increased. This is
Hello, my name is Claudian Islam and I will speak about my part of my group presentation. So the main message of our poster is to support ethical consumption. We are supporting environmentally friendly and fairly traded products. Human rights, fair wages, prohibition of child labor with elimination of environmental concerns are key corners of our poster, as you can see. We are ethical consumers and we are articulating our interest in ethical consumption. Ethical fashion is now in high demand. Ethical decision-making begins with consumer perception of an ethical problem followed by an assessment of all the possible alternative behaviors to arrive at a conclusive judgment. Our poster clearly shows multiple ethical issues related to cotton production and gives clear suggestions of not buying clothes to protect environment and human rights and avoid products made using child labor since it violates the fundamental moral rule of exploitation of children.
Due to COVID-19, it is said that after 20 years of progress, we could be seeing the first rise in child labor. Stats show that since 2000, there has been a decrease in child labor by 94 million kids. Due to COVID-19, many of these kids will be forced into labor of the worst form, causing them significant harm to their health. Child labor has a direct link to the supply of the chain of fashion industry. This may be because of the cheaper labor or because some tasks may be better suited for children, such as corn picking, so they don't damage the crop. Most of this is happening in third world countries and does not help since they have their own laws and regulations, which is what inspired us to create this poster. We would like to also acknowledge the support of our module leader, Dr. Helen Benton, and our module tutor, Hasiba Fadi and Valerie Emerson. Their lectures and seminars helped us learn about the responsible business and build up our views on ethical consumption. We studied recommending readings lists to support our ideas with evidence. Finally, we have changed our own attitude to consumption behavior and to become more ethical consumers ourselves.
Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, our communication was severely affected, and as a result, we had to do our communication through online platforms, and we got to learn how to use the Canvas discussion tool. But we believe that a face-to-face meeting would have improved the overall work and atmosphere. The poster that we created was intended to generate a moment of thinking of the textile waste into the spectators, and the design of it has a feeling of urgency, as we think that the topic is of great importance. I'm very satisfied with our results, and I'd like to thank my team members for their participation, commitment, and work.
The main message of our poster is to support ethical consumption. We are consuming more than the world can continue to give us. Resources are not unlimited. We are creating so much waste and depleting the national resources. But it's not possible anymore. It is not just government or businesses' obligation. We are all personally responsible for ethical consumption. We are supporting environmentally friendly and fairly traded products. We are ethical consumers and we are articulating our interest in ethical consumption. Ethical fashion
is now in high demand. Ethical decision making beings with consumers' preparation of an ethical problem followed by an assessment of all the possible alternative behavior to arrive at a conclusive judgment. Looking at life cycle assessment of clothing, our group decided to focus our life cycle management on the final part of cycle, namely disposal. We believe the final part of the life cycle of clothing is the most important. Taking back clothing from customers and recycling would minimize any flow into the external environment. The final stage of a life cycle has strong strategic relevance. Active involvement in recycling would extend product's life. That would create a closed loop chain and replace cradle to grave approach into cradle to cradle outlook. The key goal is to keep most clothing within the life cycle to address the major environmental concern related to waste. Lengthen the life cycle of clothing is the key way to improve sustainability. Recycling clothes would form a productive approach in environmental management. Manufacturers are now accepting their products for recycling. Recycling would generate additional revenue streams while reducing the level and cost of waste disposal. There is the emerging interest for particular consumer market segments, seeking products made from recycled material. The evaluation of discarded textile products of manufacturing of new products provides a new secondary supply chain resource. Thank you very much.
My name is Oybek. My part of the presentation is purely on a reflection of the group work. We are a group of 8 young promising businessmen. We combine our moral, personal and social values to progress as a team, to excel in responsible business. Let's begin with the positive aspects of the group. We are diverse group. We are from different countries, different cultures, and we learn from each other. After attending lectures and seminars, we discuss what we learn and support each other in our progress. For the last month, we shared our ideas through emails, WhatsApp, and Facebook. We have discussed what we should change in our behavior and what we should do to advance in our career. Actually, the world is changing, and just to do business for profit is not good enough. We share our views, and we have become ethically educated, and also we advocate for an ethical approach in business. But there were some difficulties as well. The main problem is COVID-19. We were unable to visit each other to learn more about the team, and we are from different countries, and inevitably everyone is unconsciously biased. And also I realized that when we are amongst friends, we are relaxed and we are in a comfort zones. However, when we are among students from other backgrounds, we tend to hold back on our views and opinions. We feel we could be misunderstood, and we are not inclusive at this time. So working in the diverse group helps us to understand students from different background to progress in international business in the future. So, and finally, how could we improve our group work in the future? We believe we should have defined the roles and responsibilities at the first stage, break down barriers, and to learn about the team. tackles the possible problems quickly with good feedback. Pay attention, team. Pay attention and focus on communication. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all my participants and team members in the presentation. So as you can see, the key message of the proposal is recycling. The idea of recycling has been presented as part of the solutions to issues such as the overexploitation of natural resources, pollution and waste. However, the practicalities of the recycling and waste disposal remain controversial on several grounds. The cost of recycling may be very high as it involves the collection, transport, separation, sorting, distribution and reuse of these materials. Furthermore, the number and the location of the recycling facilities in Europe are insufficient and inadequate. So more studies are required to address recycling in the clothing, and the Leading in Business group urges academics and fellow students to be aware of these recycling issues. Finally, have a look at our next supportive slide where we share our team members' roles and the key references we use to develop our key messages. We hope you enjoy our presentation and share our views on ethical consumption. Thank you for your attention.